Take me down the Shenandoah to the joining of the streams. Take me back to Harpers Fery. Let me revel in my dreams, with the beauty of the mountains and the struggle to be free, flow into one mighty river.
Here, between two rivers, in the shadow of two mountains, is a place that chronicles the passage of time and echoes the lives of women and men. The rivers, the mountains, the land, all conspire to bring people here. Each generation tracing the path of those who came before them.
Deep in the chestnut forest, far beyond our memory, dwell the spirits of the people who lived in harmony with the rivers and the woodlands, took only what they need. From abundant game they hunted, gathering berries, nuts, and seeds. Take me down the Shenandoah to the joining of the streams. Take me back to Harpers Fery. Let me revel in my dreams.
Robert Harper recognized the economic potential of this place when he began acquiring property in the mid-1700s. His ferry offered a shortcut to the land beyond the Blue Ridge Mountains.
The passage of the Potomac through the Blue Ridge is perhaps one of the most stupendous scenes in nature. You stand on a very high point of land, overlooking the confluence of two mighty rivers.
The picturesque village Thomas Jefferson witnessed in 1783 rapidly gave way to the demands of the Industrial Revolution. Grist mills along the Shenandoah were the first to exploit the might of these two rivers. Later, rifle factories, cotton mills, and other manufacturers developed this abundant source of power. Commercial and industrial enterprise changed the character of this special place. The village swelled into a bustling town, a government town. When the Armory was first established in 1799, weapons were handcrafted by artisans.
By a single workman or even a boy with very little training could perform more work than 10 men with files in the same time with greater accuracy.
During the next half-century, a parade of weapons passed through the production process. Here in Harpers Fery, the craft system evolved into the modern factory. The massive Armory complex sprawled along the banks of the Potomac River. July 4th, 1828. In a gala celebration in Washington, D.C., President John Quincy Adams broke ground for the construction of the C&O Canal. On that very same day, the last surviving signer of the Declaration of Independence, Maryland's Charles Carroll, turned the first spade of earth, christening the B&O Railroad. Those events sparked a rivalry that would last for decades, as the two interests vied for land and traffic as they raced to their destiny upstream. The C&O Canal was the first to reach Sandy Hook, across from Harpers Fery, by 1833. The B&O Railroad arrived at the same point the following year. Harpers Fery epitomized the transportation revolution that was transforming the face of America. The faces in Harpers Fery changed as well. Immigrant laborers provided the muscle to clear the land and dig the waterways and tunnels. The growing river town was now linked with the world. By the mid-1800s, the village matured into a thriving industrial town. The sound of industry, wagons, and trains reverberated throughout the once tranquil valley. A flourishing economy blossomed around the federal armory. John Brown's raid in 1859 irrevocably altered the character of Harpers Fery and further propelled the nation on a path towards war. The town's strategic location made it an inevitable pawn in the conflict. Our once vibrant town and the lives of its residents were shattered as the toll of heavy bombardment left Harpers Fery in ruins.
I don't know how my grandmother lived through the thing because the town changed hands so many times. They had to evacuate all of those kids over to Middletown or to Frederick, and they were robbed blind of their belongings.
By the war's end, the billowing smoke and the deafening noise of the factories had ceased. The wartime occupation of the town stripped the hillsides of all vegetation. Undaunted, townspeople returned to the land between the two rivers, determined to build anew. Virginia's Island along the Shenandoah River attracted new development. Shortly after the Civil War, Storer College was established as a normal school in 1867 to educate former slaves. The institution operated until its closing in 1955.
It was not long after John Brown's death that a song was composed, and people sang it all around. That song was, "John Brown's body lies a-moldering in the grave, but his soul goes marching on." I remember learning that as a little boy. When the northern missionaries came down here to teach these people the rudiments of learning, most of the people in this area didn't like it at all. John Brown's efforts were to establish a blow for liberating the bodies of people, and those who established Storer College came to strike a blow for liberating the minds and the spirits of those who had been in bondage. Niagara movement chose Harpers Fery because it was a place that was dear to the hearts of those people, because this is where John Brown made his stand for freedom. The fire engine house was exhibited at the Chicago World's Fair. After then, it was on this farm. Well, according to the historian, as they were going to that farm early in the morning, one of the leaders took off his shoes and said, "This is holy ground."
By the turn of the century, town streets were paved and lighted, new bridges spanned the rivers, and a modern railroad depot obliterated the old federal armory beneath mounds of filled dirt. With the decline of manufacturing, the Pastoral Valley gained increasing attention as a tourist destination. An amusement park was developed by the B&O Railroad on Island Park along the shores of the Potomac.
The Island Park that I remember was like a little Coney Island. Families like to take a picnic basket. My mother and father, well, they took the wicker baby carriage stroller. I remember a carousel, and I love a carousel. It's my weakness to this day. I love the music on the merry-go-round.
Visitors have always been drawn to Harpers Fery. Shortly after the Civil War, the Lovett family began taking in boarders at the Lockwood House on the Storer College campus. The increase of visitors prompted them to build Hilltop House, offering guests a panoramic view of the Gap. As roads improved, automobiles became the dominant mode of transportation. Sunday drivers waiting their turn over the narrow toll bridge frequently stretched round to Shenandoah Street. Each passing season accents the charm of this town and renews respect in the forces of nature that created such stupendous scenery. Yet, those very forces which served as the engine of development also have a menacing side. Over the years, Harpers Fery has been inundated with floods that have endangered lives, destroyed property, and robbed the town of its promising future.
There was a whole town that washed away. There was a factory of the girls drowned. A lot of girls drowned in that flood of '89.
The billowing smokestacks, the clamor of trip hammers, and the whirl of turbines have been silenced. The ruins of the once proud structures remain as evidence of an industrial past.
In 1924, you did not have to go out of Harpers Fery for anything. The town was flourishing. The flood of '24 was really the worst because it washed away houses and businesses. And when the water got up, it floated all of these logs. It also floated all these outhouses and chicken houses and dead chickens and hog pens and dead hogs into Harpers Fery. Can you imagine what a smell, what a sticky mess? It was terrible. And when Catherine and I went to see the damage, we could go up the road because the fire trucks had used pressure to get the mud out of the streets.
The Depression of the 1930s cast a pallor on the town's progress, which was further dampened by the record flood of 1936. Other floods in quick succession dashed hopes and defied renovation.
Boomer, he was a porter over to the station, but he liked to talk to people that would come into town. Shirley Johnson had a nickname of Boomer because he said the town's going to boom again. It has to. It just has to. He said that there'll be changes, and as long as there are two rivers, there'll be changes. But it'll never die.
And changes there were. At times, the streets looked more like a ghost town than a once thriving metropolis. Harpers Fery seemed on a course to oblivion until the state of West Virginia and the local community sought support of the federal government. Time has bolstered and bullied this town and changed its very face. Over the course of decades, with the help of many hands, the town has renewed its vitality. Each step in preserving Harpers Fery and protecting the surrounding countryside adds to the legacy of those who championed the cause of preserving the American past.
Thank you. That's a one-man ceremony.
Today, as you wander through Harpers Fery, try to catch a whiff of smoke or ash in the air. Hear the rumble of trains and the whine of machinery. Let your imagination take you back to Harpers Fery.
Come listen to the rivers, come listen to the land, come listen to the mountains and you will understand greater beauty and story live long after we are gone, told by the rocks and rivers and by those who carry on. Take me down the Shenandoah to the joining of the streams. Take me back to Harpers Fery. Let me revel in my dreams, where the beauty of the mountains and the struggle to be free go into one mighty river to the sea of history.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.